Well, this is instruction on how to draw the bottle project. If you notice, there are two parts to this project. You draw in the first part, you draw three bottles in detail on a 12 by 18 sheet of paper. You want to make them as realistic as possible, shading, and that right there is worth one full grade in the grade book. And then you're going to take and cut out those bottles, and you're going to do the part two, which if you look at the instructions, you end up cutting them out. You look at the layout, which is where you have a 2-inch border, and then you have then you make a rectangle that is 2.5 inches down from the top of that border line. Then the next section is 3 inches down, and then whatever's left over is left over. Don't worry about the measurement. It'll be somewhere around 2.25, 2.5, something like that. But you want to measure that out and have those three sections. Then you're going to take those bottles and you're going to lay them down in a, not too many, not too few, um, you know, uh, just a nice amount where you have definite overlap. And you can look at the diagram and you can tell what I'm expecting. You're going to take at that point and you're going to try to shade each section, light to dark or dark to light. And the example at the very bottom left-hand corner, I've put all kinds of little tips and things that'll help you. That is actually set up. You should always start with the top section. That's going to be an ebony pencil. Then you're going to do the middle section, which will be a colored pencil. And then you're going to, at the very last, shade the bottom section, which will be an ebony pencil again. But notice that the example is set up as though you are a left-handed person. So if you're left-handed, you should start on the right side of the paper. If you're right-handed, you should start on the left side of the paper. And so just look at those little notes and everything to make sure you do it the right way. You never want to start with the bottom section due to the fact that your hand will drag through it and then it'll make just a mess of your paper. So you always want to start with the top section with the ebony pencil, then you want to go to the colored pencil in the middle, and then the ebony pencil on the bottom. Now, when you were drawing the bottles in the first part, you should look at the way the bottle's set up. There's always a mouth on it. That's the little opening at the top. It's also called an ellipse. Then the next part of the bottle is the lip. There'll be different shapes depending on the bottle. Some will have screw top. Some will be squared off. I mean, there's just all different types of bottles. Next is the neck, and they all have a neck somehow. Short, medium sized, long. Then the shoulder, and then the body, and then the foot. Now, if you notice, you want to keep the ellipse on the bottom or near the foot. You want to keep the back side of that line light because it's got to appear that it's inside the bottle. Now, if you have a dark bottle, like a green one, brown one, something like that, you want to shade that value in general over the whole bottle. And then you're going to add the darker shading and the highlights. The highlights on a darker bottle will be added by taking the eraser and kind of swooping down on it with the eraser and taking away some of the color. You will want to make sure that you shade with little highlights and some shadows over the top of the lower section of the body, because you got to make that appear as though the glass is on the front and then you've got the bottle that's inside. You've got to make that appearance. So you kind of want to watch all those different things. But I hope this helps, giving you some tips on looking at the two assignments. The first part is draw 3 bottles in detail on a 12 by 18 piece of paper. You will then take those bottles, cut the bottles out, then you will use it for part 2.